Sweetness. Walter Payton. Walter Payton wasn't just one of the greatest running backs of all time. He was one of the most admired figures in NFL history. His nickname, Sweetness, might sound soft for a player who ran with such ferocity, but it carried serious weight. There are a few theories about where it came from. Some say it described his smooth, almost effortless running style at Jackson State, like he was gliding across the field. Others say it reflected his off-field personality, kind, generous, and humble to everyone he met. Either way, it stuck, and it became part of who he was. Payton played 13 seasons for the Chicago Bears, rushing for over 16,000 yards, the most in NFL history at the time. He was known for his punishing stiff arm, his unmatched durability, and his refusal to go out of bounds. Sweetness didn't run around you. He ran through you. Megatron. Calvin Johnson. Calvin Johnson earned the nickname Megatron from his Lions teammate Roy Williams during training camp in 2007, and it fit perfectly. Like the towering Transformers villain, Johnson was massive, powerful, and almost unstoppable once he got going. Standing 6 feet 5 inches and weighing 237 pounds with a 42-inch vertical and 4.35 speed, Johnson was a physical mismatch for every cornerback in the league. Defensive coordinators had to treat him like a video game glitch. He could outrun safeties, outjump linebackers, and bully corners at the line of scrimmage. He made triple coverage look like a mild inconvenience. His breakout came in 2012 when he shattered Jerry Rice's single-season receiving yards record with 1,964, and he did it without being on a high-powered offense. Everyone in the stadium knew where the ball was going, and they still couldn't stop him. The Bus. Jerome Bettis. Jerome Bettis got his nickname in college at Notre Dame, and it followed him all the way to Canton. At 5'11" and nearly 250 pounds, Bettis ran like a freight train. Once he got going, defenders weren't bringing him down with a solo tackle. They had to jump on and ride, just like a bus. After being drafted by the Rams and eventually traded to the Steelers, Bettis found his true identity in Pittsburgh. He wasn't flashy, and he didn't rely on speed or finesse. He wore defenses down, carry after carry, hit after hit. Fans loved him because he represented everything about old-school Steelers football: toughness, grit, and power. In his final season, Bettis got the perfect ending. The Steelers won Super Bowl 40 in his hometown of Detroit, and the Bus parked it for good, retiring as a champion. By the way, I'm going to be posting a lot here, so it would mean a lot if you subscribed and dropped a like for the algorithm. Beast Mode. Marshawn Lynch. Beast Mode wasn't just a nickname. It was a mindset. Marshawn Lynch earned it through sheer willpower, violent running, and an attitude that said, "You're not stopping me." The phrase started gaining traction during his early years in Buffalo, but it truly became a legend in Seattle. Lynch's playing style was raw and punishing. He didn't dance. He didn't avoid contact. He initiated it. He ran through defenders like they owed him money. And nothing defined beast mode more than one play: the 67-yard touchdown run against the Saints in the 2010 playoffs, where he broke 9 tackles, stiff-armed a grown man 5 yards into the earth, and caused a literal earthquake from the crowd reaction. It was a cultural moment. Off the field, Lynch leaned into the beast mode brand. He launched a clothing line, stayed unapologetically himself in interviews, and built a persona that blended humor, mystery, and authenticity. Primetime. Deion Sanders. He performed, and Primetime was the perfect name for the show. The nickname came from his days at Florida State, where a high school basketball teammate coined it after watching Deion dominate under the lights. Once Sanders embraced it, it became inseparable from his identity. He was electric, the fastest man on the field, with a swagger that made every return, interception, and celebration feel like must-see TV. Whether it was a 90-yard pick six or a high-stepping punt return, Deion made sure you were watching. He also famously played Major League Baseball while starring in the NFL, sometimes in the same week. His charisma, media presence, and confidence made him a cultural icon. Even today, as a coach at Colorado, Primetime still turns heads. The Sheriff. Peyton Manning. Peyton Manning earned the nickname the Sheriff because of how he controlled the field. From the moment he stepped under center, everything ran through him. The pace, the protection, the audibles, the defense's panic. Broadcasters like John Gruden started calling him the Sheriff because it looked like he was policing the entire operation, and it stuck. He commanded the position like a general. Omaha, kill, alert. Every shout had a purpose, and defenses knew they were in for a mental chess match. Statistically, he was a machine. 5 MVPs, over 70,000 passing yards, 2 Super Bowl rings. But it was his brain that made him truly unique. He watched more film than anyone, diagnosed plays like a coach, and elevated everyone around him, from unknown receivers to the offensive line. Broadway Joe, Joe Namath. He was a star, and when he landed in New York in the 1960s, it was the perfect fit. After playing college ball at Alabama, Namath was drafted by both the NFL and the upstart AFL. He chose the AFL's New York Jets for a then-record $427,000 contract, and instantly became the face of the league. In the media capital of the world, Namath embraced the spotlight. He wore fur coats on the sidelines, strutted around Manhattan, and dated Hollywood actresses. It didn't take long before the New York press gave him a name worthy of the stage, Broadway Joe. But Namath was more than just a showman. His biggest moment came before Super Bowl III, when he famously guaranteed a Jets win over the heavily favored Baltimore Colts, a claim that seemed absurd at the time. But Namath backed it up, delivering one of the biggest upsets in football history, and legitimizing the AFL in the process. The Minister of Defense, Reggie White. He was divine. Known as the Minister of Defense, the nickname came naturally. White was an ordained evangelical minister off the field, and an unstoppable force on it. The combination of his spiritual calling and his defensive dominance made the moniker perfect. White began his pro career in the USFL, but it was in the NFL where his legend grew, first with the Philadelphia Eagles and then with the Green Bay Packers. Reggie terrorized quarterbacks with a rare blend of power, speed, and technique. His signature move, the hump, could send 300-pound linemen flying like paper. Over his 15-year NFL career, White racked up 198 sacks, still the second most all time. But it wasn't just the numbers, it was how he did it. He was double and triple teamed, yet still found his way to the quarterback. And even more impressively, he did it without the trash talk or theatrics. Just brute force and quiet conviction. Rivas Island, Darrelle Revis. There are lockdown corners. And then there was Rivas Island. Throughout the late 2000s and early 2010s, quarterbacks knew one thing. If your best wideout was lined up against Darrelle Revis, you might as well forget he existed. That's how the nickname was born. Rivas Island was a place where elite receivers went and disappeared. He didn't rely on gimmicks, schemes, or help over the top. He used pure technique, footwork, and instincts to stick to receivers like glue. In 2009, his most dominant season, Rivas held nearly every top receiver he faced to under 35 yards. Matty Ice? Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan earned his nickname not with flash, but with focus. Matty Ice became the perfect moniker for a quarterback known for staying calm under pressure and delivering in the clutch. Drafted 3rd overall by the Atlanta Falcons in 2008, Ryan made an immediate impact, throwing a touchdown on his very first NFL pass. Whether he was leading a 2-minute drill or staring down a blitz on 3rd and long, Ryan rarely flinched. That cold-blooded confidence is what led teammates and fans to call him Matty Ice. Throughout the 2010s, Ryan consistently ranked among the league's top passers. His best season came in 2016, when he threw for nearly 5,000 yards and 38 touchdowns, earning NFL MVP honors and leading Atlanta to Super Bowl 51. Of course, that game is remembered for the Falcons' collapse after leading 28-3. But Ryan's individual performance and legacy shouldn't be reduced to one moment. He remains one of the most statistically consistent quarterbacks of his era. The Fridge, William Perry. Few nicknames in NFL history have been as instantly iconic as the Fridge, and no one wore it better than William Perry. Standing 6 feet 2 inches and weighing over 330 pounds, Perry was a mountain of a man. Drafted by the Chicago Bears in the first round of the 1985 NFL Draft, he was primarily a defensive tackle, but it was his surprise role on offense that made him a legend. Bears head coach Mike Ditka started using Perry as a fullback in goal line situations, and when this massive human being rumbled into the end zone, it became must-see television. He scored 3 rushing touchdowns that season, including one in Super Bowl 20, and instantly captured the imagination of fans across the country. His sheer size, combined with his surprising agility and charisma, made the Fridge more than a nickname. It became a brand. He starred in commercials, toy lines, and even had his own G.I. Joe action figure. Few defensive players in NFL history have become that recognizable. Mean Joe. Joe Green. Joe Green was the anchor of the Pittsburgh Steelers' Steel Curtain defense, and one of the most feared defensive linemen to ever play the game. Drafted 4th overall in 1969 out of North Texas, Green was a dominant, relentless force. Offensive linemen dreaded lining up across from him. He played angry, aggressive, and with a level of intensity that gave birth to his nickname, Mean Joe. But here's the twist. Off the field, Green was known to be soft-spoken, respectful, and even shy. The mean was all business. On Sundays, he terrorized quarterbacks, demanded double teams, and changed the outcome of games by sheer will. Green was the cornerstone of the Steelers dynasty that won 4 Super Bowls in the 1970s. He was a 10-time Pro Bowler, 2-time Defensive Player of the Year, and a Hall of Famer. He set the standard for what it meant to be a defensive tackle in the NFL. Legatron. Greg Zerline. When you earn a nickname that fuses a cannon of a leg with a killer robot, you know you've got something special. And Greg Zerline lived up to every syllable of Legatron. Drafted in the 6th round by the St. Louis Rams in 2012, Zerline quickly made a name for himself by doing what most kickers couldn't, consistently drilling field goals from 50, 55, even 60 yards out with ease. His combination of range and accuracy was rare, and it didn't take long for fans and teammates to give him a nickname that reflected just how automatic he felt from deep. In his rookie season alone, Zerline became the first player in NFL history to hit a 60-yard field goal and a 50-plus yarder in the same game. His kicking style was smooth, powerful, and mechanical, hence the nod to Megatron, the robot from Transformers. The playmaker, Michael Irvin. Some nicknames are just clever, others are earned. For Michael Irvin, the playmaker was a job description. Drafted 11th overall by the Dallas Cowboys in 1988, Irvin quickly became the heart of the Cowboys' passing game throughout the 1990s dynasty. He made plays when it mattered most. 3rd down, 4th quarter, playoffs, Irvin was always the one stepping up. That's where the nickname came from, his ability to rise in the biggest moments and shift momentum with one big grab. Irvin was physical, intense, and relentless. At 6 feet 2 inches with elite body control and strength, he could outmuscle defenders, high-point balls, and rack up yards after contact. His passion for the game was unmatched, and it showed in every celebration, every first down point, and every sideline huddle. Iron. Mike Ditka. Before he became a Super Bowl winning coach or a fiery TV analyst, Mike Ditka earned the nickname Iron Mike for the way he played the game. Tough, aggressive, and completely unrelenting. Drafted 5th overall in 1961 by the Chicago Bears, Ditka revolutionized the tight end position. At the time, tight ends were mostly blockers, with occasional receiving duties. But Ditka was different. He was a wrecking ball who could also catch. In his rookie season, he racked up 56 receptions for over 1,000 yards and 12 touchdowns. Unheard of numbers for a tight end back then. Iron wasn't just about his physical strength, though he had plenty of it. It was about his mentality. He played through pain, initiated contact, and never backed down from a defender. Whether blocking in the trenches or bulldozing through secondaries after a catch, Ditka set the tone. As head coach of the 1985 Bears, one of the most feared teams in history, Ditka's fiery demeanor matched his nickname perfectly. Honeybadger, Tyrann Mathieu. Some nicknames stick because they're clever. Others stick because they perfectly capture who a player is. In Tyrann Mathieu's case, it became a brand. It started during his college days at LSU. At just 5 feet 9 inches, Mathieu didn't look like a defensive enforcer, but once the ball was snapped, he turned into pure chaos. Whether it was forcing fumbles, making open field tackles, or returning punts for touchdowns, Mathieu was everywhere. The nickname, Honeybadger, was inspired by a viral video describing the animal's ferocity and indifference to danger. It fit perfectly. Mathieu played like he had nothing to lose, attacking ball carriers twice his size and playing with unmatched intensity. Despite facing adversity off the field, and dropping to the third round of the 2013 NFL Draft, Matthew proved himself immediately in the NFL. With the Arizona Cardinals, he became a versatile weapon, lining up at safety, corner, and even linebacker. He later brought that same energy to the Chiefs, becoming a leader on the Super Bowl-winning 2019 squad. Muscle Hamster, Doug Martin. It's one of the most ridiculous nicknames in NFL history, and Doug Martin hated it. But whether he liked it or not, Muscle Hamster stuck. Martin was a compact, stocky running back out of Boise State, drafted in the first round by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in 2012. Standing at 5 feet 9 inches and weighing over 220 pounds, he was a powerhouse in a small frame. During his rookie season, he exploded onto the scene, rushing for over 1,400 yards and 11 touchdowns, including a jaw-dropping 251-yard, 4-touchdown performance against the Raiders. The nickname came from a college weightlifting session. Someone joked that Martin looked like a muscle hamster, a tiny animal with absurd strength, and the name somehow spread. Despite his protests, it followed him into the NFL. Martin was never flashy in interviews or social media, but on the field, he ran with fury. His low center of gravity made him hard to tackle, and he had sneaky speed once he broke through the line. When healthy, he was one of the league's most productive backs, earning 2 Pro Bowl nods in his career. Crazy Legs. Elroy Hirsch. You don't get into the Pro Football Hall of Fame without leaving a mark, and Elroy Crazy Legs Hirsch did it with a running style so strange, so unorthodox, that it became legendary. Hirsch played in the 1940s and 1950s, first for the Chicago Rockets of the AAFC, then for the Los Angeles Rams, where he made his name. He earned the nickname Crazy Legs during his college days at Wisconsin, when a sports writer said his legs seemed to move in every direction except the one he was running in. It looked awkward, chaotic, and completely unstoppable. Despite his wiry frame, Hirsch was electric. In 1951, he had one of the most dominant seasons for a wide receiver in NFL history, especially for that era. He caught 66 passes for 1,495 yards and 17 touchdowns, all league highs at the time. That was in a 12-game season. He helped the Rams win the NFL championship in 1951 and was later inducted into the Hall of Fame in 1968. The Galloping Ghost, Red Grange. Before the NFL was even truly established, there was Red Grange, and he might be the single most important figure in making pro football matter. His nickname, the Galloping Ghost, wasn't just catchy. It captured the way he moved, smooth, elusive, and impossible to catch. Grange made his name at the University of Illinois in the early 1920s. In his most famous game, against Michigan in 1924, he scored 4 touchdowns in the first 12 minutes, including one on the opening kickoff. Sports writers at the time had never seen anything like it. He glided across the field with long, graceful strides and perfect vision, looking more like a spirit drifting through defenders than a man playing football. Thus, the Galloping Ghost was born. When Grange turned pro, he joined the Chicago Bears, a controversial and bold move back then. But his arrival drew massive crowds and media attention, legitimizing the NFL during a time when college football ruled America's sports landscape. Night Train. Some nicknames sound cool, others are earned. Night Train was both, and Dick Night Train Lane backed it up with one of the most fearsome careers in NFL history. Lane didn't even play college football. He was working in an aircraft factory when he convinced the Los Angeles Rams to give him a tryout in 1952. That year, as an undrafted rookie, he set an NFL record with 14 interceptions in a single season, a record that still stands today. He did it in just 12 games. So where did the nickname come from? It wasn't from his play style, at least not directly. Early in his career, teammates noticed Lane constantly blasting the Buddy Morrow song Night Train on the team bus. The name stuck. But once fans and opponents saw him play, it started to mean something else entirely. Night Train Lane was a menace on the field. He was known for his brutal clothesline tackles, so violent that they were eventually banned by the league. He hit with a fury that wide receivers feared, and he covered ground with rare speed and instincts. Lane played for the Rams, Cardinals, and Lions, and by the time he retired, he had 68 career interceptions. The Snake. Kenny Stabler. Kenny Stabler wasn't your typical quarterback. and that's exactly why fans loved him. Cool under pressure, wild off the field, and impossible to rattle, he earned the nickname The Snake for the way he moved and the way he lived. The name stuck with him since college. At Alabama, Stabler slithered his way through defenses with an improvisational style that drove coaches crazy, but got results. When he reached the NFL with the Oakland Raiders, that same slippery, unpredictable play became his calling card. But it wasn't just about what he did on the field. It was who he was. Stabler was the ultimate Raider, gritty, rebellious, and unapologetically fun. He was known for late nights, wild stories, and showing up on Sunday ready to ball. He once said, "We'd get in about 2 a.m. and we'd be on the field by 1 p.m. the next day, and we'd still win." Hacksaw, Jack Reynolds. He was a man on a mission, and that mission was destruction. Nicknamed Hacksaw for a reason that almost sounds too intense to believe, Reynolds earned the name in college after literally sawing a 1953 Chevrolet in half by hand, following a brutal loss. It wasn't a stunt. It was who he was. That fiery intensity carried into the NFL, where Reynolds became one of the league's most respected and feared middle linebackers. Drafted by the Los Angeles Rams in 1970, he anchored their defense for over a decade with a no-nonsense, smash-mouth mentality. Lights out. Shawn Merriman. Merriman earned the moniker in high school after knocking out 4 opposing players in a single game. From that point on, Lights Out stuck with him and followed him to the NFL, where he became one of the most feared defenders of his era. Drafted by the San Diego Chargers in 2005, Merriman wasted no time living up to the name. He recorded 10 sacks as a rookie, then exploded for 17 the next year. Even after serving a 4-game suspension, he was fast, explosive, and played with a ferocity that made quarterbacks uneasy just hearing his name. Merriman had a signature sack celebration, flicking an imaginary light switch on his arm that symbolized what he was doing to offenses across the league. Lights out. At his peak, he was nearly unblockable. His combination of power and speed was rare, and his ability to get off the line and bend around tackles felt almost unfair. He made 3 straight Pro Bowls and was named Defensive Rookie of the Year. Joe Shisty. Joe Burrow. The nickname started as internet slang, a mix of swagger, style, and stone-cold confidence. Shisty doesn't have a single definition, but in Burrow's case, it means one thing: ice in his veins. After transferring from Ohio State to LSU, Burrow became a legend. His 2019 season is arguably the greatest ever by a college quarterback. 5,671 passing yards, 60 touchdowns, and a national championship that felt inevitable from week 1. But it wasn't just the stats. It was how he carried himself. Calm, unbothered, like he knew he was better than everyone on the field. Once he got to the NFL, the legend only grew. He turned the Cincinnati Bengals, one of the league's most forgotten franchises, into a Super Bowl contender. He wore Cartier glasses to press conferences, fur coats in freezing weather, and never seemed fazed by pressure. Social media crowned him Joe Shisty during his playoff run in 2021, and it stuck, because when the lights were brightest, he took over. Quiet trash talk, surgical throws, big-time moments, all with that icy, unshaken demeanor. Sauce. Ahmad Gardner. The nickname was born long before the NFL spotlight, back when Gardner was just a kid growing up in Detroit. A one-sauce, sweet-feet Gardner from a youth football coach, and it stuck like glue. Eventually, the name shortened to just Sauce, but the meaning remained: smooth, flavorful, and impossible to ignore. At the University of Cincinnati, Sauce Gardner built his reputation as one of the most dominant cornerbacks in the country. He was tall, fast, physical, and most importantly, locked down every receiver who dared to line up across from him. Across his entire college career, he didn't allow a single touchdown in coverage. Not one. When the New York Jets took him with the 4th overall pick in the 2022 NFL Draft, he wasted no time living up to the name. As a rookie, he led the league in pass deflections and won Defensive Rookie of the Year, all while rocking a diamond-studded Sauce chain and dropping signature wing sauce collabs off the field. Cheetah. Tyreek Hill. Few nicknames in football have ever been more accurate. He's cheetah fast. The kind of fast that makes professional athletes look like they're moving in slow motion. The kind of fast that can turn a 5-yard slant into a 75-yard touchdown before the safety even knows what happened. The nickname came early in his NFL career, not from the media, not from a coach, but from Hill himself. After blazing through defenders during his rookie season with the Kansas City Chiefs in 2016, Hill started calling himself Cheetah on social media. But unlike most self-given nicknames, this one stuck because he earned it. Hill ran a 4.29-second 40-yard dash, and on game day, he plays even faster. His top-end speed has been clocked over 23 miles per hour, faster than most kick returners, running backs, or cornerbacks can even dream of. And it's not just straight-line speed. Hill accelerates out of cuts, like he's being shot from a cannon, with change of direction quickness that leaves defenders grasping at air. Deacon. David Jones. Before there was swagger, before there were sack records, before the NFL was a global spectacle, there was Deacon Jones, one of the most feared defenders in football history, and the man who coined the term sack itself. His real name was David Jones, but early in life, he gave himself the name Deacon, partly for uniqueness, partly for mystique, and it worked. Deacon Jones sounded like a force of nature, a name you remembered. A name quarterbacks feared. Playing defensive end for the Los Angeles Rams in the 1960s and early 70s, he was revolutionary. He turned pass rushing into an art form. Before him, there was no official stat for sacks. After him, there was no question what pressure could do to a quarterback. Deacon was also a showman. He understood the power of media and image, often giving bold interviews and delivering quotes like, "You take all the deacons, bishops, and reverends and put them together, and they couldn't make one Deacon Jones." Moose. Daryl Johnston. Some nicknames are flashy, others are loud, but this one was simple, and it echoed through stadiums every time he touched the ball. Daryl Johnston was a fullback for the Dallas Cowboys during their 1990s dynasty, and the fans gave him his name, Moose. It started during his rookie season in 1989. Standing at 6 feet 2 inches and weighing around 240 pounds, Johnston was built more like a tight end than a traditional fullback. He was powerful, dependable, and did all the gritty, unglamorous work that often goes unnoticed. And every time Johnston made a play, you'd hear a low rumble roll through the crowd. Moose. It wasn't a boo. It was a chant of appreciation. Moose paved the way for Emmitt Smith to become the NFL's all-time leading rusher. He didn't rack up huge stats himself, just over 750 rushing yards and 2,200 receiving yards in his career. But his presence was felt on nearly every down. He was a coach's dream, tough, smart, selfless, and consistent. If you enjoyed this, I'm going to be posting a lot here, so it would mean a lot if you subscribed. Thanks for watching.